This is the actual start of the race. We started a few miles back and had a pretty long promenade that included some short but steep climbs. Hey cycling community, this is Steve, Grusis the Cycling Greek, and this is the Snelling Road Race, middle of California. In a moment, you'll notice on the left side there's a Body Concepts rider coming up, positioning himself for an attack. This is how the race was going to go the entire day. The pack, still wary of what happened at Cantua Creek with that early breakaway, weren't going to let anything go. We had 17 riders in our 65 plus pack, in which 5 of them were 70 plus. And of those, that includes 2 district champions, Bob Gorman from Body Concepts and Brian Patterson from DNR. As we now head toward the feed zone, let's talk about the makeup of the pack. We again have 2 strong teams and everyone else is pretty much independents. We have Body Concepts with 4 riders, a very strong team, and Penn Velo, this time with 3 riders. An arguably stronger team, except this time they're missing Tim Davis. This speed zone hill is especially important because it leads into a tight S-turn that has often a gravelly entry. I make a point to get toward the front so I can have a clean entry into that first tight turn. It is here where those in the front can put the hurt on everyone else by surging out of there, which causes that 180-degree turnaround effect that you saw in my previous video. If you're not connected at this point, it can get very tough for you because we're going to have some rollers coming up, which leads to the back end climb. Now that I'm putting this video together, I see that I did not go to the front on this feed zone hill, at least on this first lap. On the other laps, I made sure I did. Entering that back end climb, I see that I wasn't in the worst position, but I could have been a lot better. Still, I was comfortable enough, and I wasn't worried. And that could be that we're just about to be neutralized for this other pack to come by. This climb curves to the right, and you're still doing a little climbing and going over this little hump before you start to descend. And it's that little hump, that bump, that has often put me in stress in past years. We are now at the back end of the first lap. If you look at the rear view camera, you'll see a Body Concepts coming into the front view camera as he's going toward the front. You'll see a Penn Velo coming after him. There's a Penn Velo next to Bob Gorman who's in front of me, and there's a couple of other Body Concepts who are at the front. So basically, it's one team against the other. You have 3 covering 4. As a solo rider, I'm going to use this. I'll get nervous if a Body Concepts attacks, and if I can, I'll go with them. However, I won't get as nervous if a Penn Velo attacks. Now, if a rider without any teammates attacks, I probably won't go with them. It'll be up to, I figure, one of the other teams, particularly Body Concepts, to do the work. Just a little while later, we have another attack, this time by a solo rider, Eric Gray from San Jose Bicycle Club. With the jump from the back, he gets a nice little gap. The pack increases its speed, but we're not pulling Eric back in. Once we hit the corner to make our way back to the beginning of the lap, Eric has about 5 seconds on us. The first one through the turn from our group punches it to go after him. Making it through the mildly gravelly corner in the middle of the pack, I just concentrate on staying on the wheel in front of me. The pack groups up, and now Eric seems to have about an 8-10 second lead on us. And now I'm starting to think about when Antonio attacked and stayed away almost the entire race at Cantua Creek a couple weeks ago. There are 2 things I'm thinking about, actually 3. The first one is that Eric seems to be pretty strong at this type of stuff. The second one is that this is a long race. This is only the first of 4 laps. First of 4 12-mile laps. And the third thing I'm thinking of, it is Body Concepts' responsibility to chase. We caught Eric, who's right in front of me, on or after the cattle pin climb. So now we're hitting the rollers before we go into Blood Alley. This is where I want to be a lot further to the front than I am now, so I'm trying to make my way up there. We have a tight left turn coming onto Blood Alley that apparently has a bunch of oil that was spilled on there, which also has some gravel or gravelly-like substance to help soak up the oil or make it a little more passable, at least for a bike. And you just have to be real careful in that corner, and so we're coming up to it now. I'm in the position I want to be, which is good. But boy, you have to be real careful in how much speed you carry into that because it can take you to the other side. And we'll be talking about that later. So let's talk a little bit about Blood Alley. The roads are bad, but not as bad as they used to be years back. At one point, we came to the race and saw that it was all nice and black. We thought they had retarded everything, but what they really did is seemingly paint a little tar on it and made it look nicer. It still sucked, but didn't suck as bad. So what also makes it dangerous is that it leads into the final turn that we just took here that takes us to the finish. This can be a particularly tough section in the middle of the race. You're going over rollers, you are hitting that finishing little climb, sprint climb. go down a little bit, bumpy roads, then you take that tight right turn and you start the next lap, which has a couple of tough rollers in it. In the past, I had a lot of problem with this in my younger years. If one had the legs and the lungs, this would be a great place to attack. As we're coming up to the feed zone hill for the second time, Kevin Willits, Body Concepts, came up to his teammate Bob Gorman, and this was a bit of a concern. The feed zone hill and the subsequent tight S-turn and the subsequent rollers are a great place to attack and counterattack. So I had to make sure that I went over the feed zone hill, at least in the top 5. Starting on the feed zone hill and making a whole lot of assumptions, I was thinking that Kevin was going to be the first to attack. All of a sudden, Shinumeda from Penvelo attacks. So this is working out. So Kevin is getting on his wheel. I'm going to get on Kevin's wheel. So I'm going to go over the top and into that tight S-turn, third position. Bob Gorman's on my wheel, and the rest of the pack are lined up behind him. With the speed fast and no one to the inside of me, I'm able to take the corner as I want to take it. Shin surges, Kevin's on his wheel, and I'm able to power up to them. Shin keeps his speed on as we exit the S-turn, stretching out the back as we're now entering some rollers as we're heading toward the back-end climb. Now, on that back-end climb, coming up by my right, is a former teammate from a long time ago, Scott Hollander, who's an independent but wearing the Glass Man uniform. Just after the top is his favorite section, where he loves to light it up. He's getting in position, ready to do just that. Now, I didn't realize that he lived to light it up here until he told me afterwards, but it's lighted up, speed's going up. I get on Jerry's wheel. Jerry's not making a connection. I jump from Jerry to the next guy, and this is actually going to be Bob Naporowski. He used to be a teammate for a few years on Body Concepts, but now he's onto another team or just riding independent. He's a very strong time trialist, and as long as I'm on his wheel, I'm going to stay with him. All of a sudden, Kevin Willits, Body Concepts, attacks. Robert goes after him, and I stick on Robert's wheel like white on rice. Robert gets us close enough such that Kevin knows that the brake attempt is over. Look at the rearview camera, and that's my buddy Bob doing a counterattack, and a good one. I'm exposed at the front. I can't go after him, particularly since I don't have a good punch to get away from the rest of these guys. I'm looking to work my way back into the pack, but I also want to keep my position toward the left side in anticipation of that tight right turn that's coming up. As we get closer to that right turn, Scott Hollander takes off, and I figure this is a good guy to be with, so I jump after him. Now he does slow up. I find myself at the front, so I stay there so I take the corner like I want to take it. In the meantime, Bob has about a 5 to second 8 gap on us. Being the first for the corner, I punch it in an effort to try and get up to Bob and obviously not be with anyone else. The two of us with blockers in the back, albeit we're both 70 plus, would give us a much better chance. However, for that to happen, the first thing that has to happen is I need to get up there, and that doesn't seem to be happening. I slow up a bit, and that's going to leave me open for a counterattack. Not only that, the pack screams by me. I got to do what I can to recover as quick as I can to get in, so they're not screaming past me, so that's good. Now, there is a counterattack, which is perfect by Body Concepts. I'm thinking that's John Zunino, and there's somebody that goes with him, and then the pack is reacting to that. Now this is a fast section. I believe we have a tailwind, a bit of a tailwind at this point. As we're now on the rollers heading toward Blood Alley, it is Grupo Compacto. I'm in a position where I want to be about in the top 5 heading into that tight left turn. Boy, my momentum just takes me toward the outside, and that's getting real dangerous. In the middle of Blood Alley, Kevin Willits is at the front, and he does something that surprises me. He attacks from the front. All of a sudden, we're all stretched out. We're going after him. We're on his wheel, we're stretched out, and then all of a sudden he slows up. I'm thinking that he may have been expecting or hoping for a counter from one of his teammates, and he was setting it up for that. I was also thinking this would be a good thing for him to do next time around, because that would be a nice setup for me to have a go for myself, and maybe pull a couple people along, because I wouldn't be able to hold a whole lap, that final lap by myself. We're now on the back end of the third lap. We're on the roller section heading to that back end climb. We've had some minor attacks and some minor surges, but it's here where Antonio from Penvelo slowly starts moving away. We have people racing today that did not race at Cantua where Antonio got away, but I'm starting to get a little nervous, and looks like some of the others maybe were too and started to pull him back. He would be another great breakaway partner, but at this point, if he was going to stay away, I was still going to look for Body Concepts to chase him down. Now on that back end climb, We had a couple of attackers go. I couldn't catch it on the video. We're going after them, and it looks like we're going to catch them. I have Brian on my wheel, and Scott is not far behind him. The catch is made as we crest. Body Concept Zunino attacks. Scott Hollander goes after him. Zunino lets up. Scott keeps going, and I'm thinking, this is dangerous. I'm going to go with Scott. The pack is starting to chase us. I'm beginning to wonder whether I should go to the front or wait. I keep looking around me. I finally call out to Scott that we've been caught. Scott hasn't heard me. He pulls for just a while more and then slows down a bit. I go to the front. I'm a little bit gassed. I go off to the side. I try to recover at speed, and all of a sudden the pack just screams by, and this is one of the things I fear most. In cases like this is where I can get dropped. Fortunately, I have enough legs, and I don't. We're now on the rollers heading toward Blood Alley. This is where I'm thinking about making my move. And one of the places I'm thinking about is right after the turn. Everyone's stretched out. I can punch in coming out of the corner and hope that one or two people come along with me. Now the problem is, I'm in great position right now. That's not the problem. Coming in too fast and wide is the problem. I almost hit but avoid the cones. That causes me to go off the lip into the dirt. I come back on, but then I realize soon thereafter, I've got a rear flat. Long story short, I make my way to the finish to let them know I've dropped out, and then I get ready to film the finish. Okay, this may be my group. Too big, damn it. We'll watch the finish. Oh, we got a breakaway. This may be my group. You got 2 seconds, baby, 2 seconds to do it. It is my group. Hey, they're all lining up. Bob! And there's Brian there in the back. Bob's going to, is he going to punch it now? Kevin's punching it. Bob, maybe Bob, maybe Kevin. For second, I'm not, I don't know if they caught that guy in that there. Hey, I'm coming. Okay. I got a limp on back. At least I caught that.